Hi there, welcome back. It's officially time to kickstart the future you as we lean into the final stage of ditching self-doubt. You've now done the mechanical work. You've identified specific symptoms and looked for them in your colleagues too. Developed your self-awareness along the way, which will make you a better leader, by the way. And you've been training your brain to not shy away from those uncomfortable thoughts and instead face your inner critic head on and learn how to level with it. So this part is the fun part, if you let it be. So make sure you take the time to enjoy this and let it happen. It can also be the hardest part because you will be learning how to cultivate positive feelings on demand. This isn't something that is seen as normal. But if you want to know the difference between good leaders and great high-performing leaders, this one is it. This inner work, self-care and self-compassion to develop resilience, this is the thing that sets apart the really great leaders in every single field. Because this work is what gives us that mythical grit that everyone talks about. It is what means that burnout never happens, not because you miraculously avoided it, but because it isn't even on the radar. This work is what has you being highly productive in a 40-hour or less week and producing more high-quality impact and outcomes than those on 60, 80 or even more hours. And this is the stuff that has you turning up to interviews, speaking at a board, raising a round of investment or standing on stage in front of thousands with integrity, confidence, compassion and a resilient mindset. You ready for this? Let's dig in. The goal of this lesson is to give you the skills you need to develop to put you into a new mindset. A mindset where you are constantly cultivating a feeling of success, an elevated emotional energy, and a feeling that things will always work out for you. This may sound a bit woo-woo, and as a physicist and high-performance computing consultant by training, I know where you're coming from. But stick with me for a moment and let me explain. I've seen so many times two people with the same opportunities report completely different experiences. One will tell me that everything goes wrong for them, life throws them a pile of lemons, and that the world is against them. And sure enough, their life, based on the evidence, does seem indeed fairly unpleasant. I'll then speak to someone in very similar circumstances, presented with the same opportunity, who has a completely different outlook. They're upbeat, positive, content, full of optimism. Meet these two people 6 months later and they have diverged. I haven't just seen this once, I've seen it literally hundreds of times. Now the world is really great at throwing many of us a lot of awful situations. And I'm most certainly not belittling that at all, my love. There is far too much discrimination, outright hatred, just to name two of many, many injustices in the world today. And I certainly do not want you to think that I'm saying buck up your ideas and your life will be better. No. Because sadly, there is a lot of work for all of us to do to change the world and make it fairer. Side note, I do hope that you'll be one of those change makers. But what I am saying is that I want to equip you with the tools to make the most of your circumstances, whatever they are. Wherever you are starting, for some the hurdles will be higher, for some the hurdles will be lower, but I want to give you the ammunition to leap over those hurdles. And even if you fall on the other side of that hurdle, I want you to learn how to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, get help if you need it, because asking for help is sometimes the hardest thing to do. And then get ready for the next hurdle. And more than that, as a leader, I would love it if once you are over a hurdle, you reach back down and lift up those who don't have what's needed to get over the hurdle you just crossed. Either because they don't have the tools or because their hurdle was higher than yours, because life is unfair. Instead of assuming they need to get through what you went through, I want you to reach back and lift them up. Level that playing field, be the change agent, and be that great leader that builds a more inclusive, integrity-filled future. That, my amazing woman in tech, is where true greatness lies. So let's dig in about how this inner work, this self-care and compassion you need to be developing can help and how to go about it. Firstly, I want you to recognize the negative loop cycle. Notice when you're pinning your hopes onto something, this is the most common opening to a negative loop, when this thing you're pinning on is out of your control. something doesn't happen that we have no control over, or something negative happens, again, that we have no control over, then because we put our hopes onto it, we make it mean something about us. I suck, I'm a failure, when reality is we had no control. Start by noticing when that has happened. When did you say, I'm a failure, or that you're somehow letting everyone down? Then look for the why. What happened? Was that really in your control? Once you have that recognition, expand it out. What are you currently pinning your hopes on? Work on this every single day. I love to journal when I'm learning something new about myself. So if you would like doing that, bring this reflection into your daily journaling until you feel that you have a handle on it. At some point, you'll wake up and realize you just automatically notice when you're putting your hopes on bad things, things outside your control, and learn to let go before it happens and learn to look for opportunities instead of that negative loop. Step 2, learn the art of conscious reframing. Start by noticing when you hear yourself putting negative words such as I should, why didn't I? It's time to consciously reframe those. Focus on what you will do and what you can do. Let go of the I should and why didn't I? Then stop living in the negative past with why didn't I, or if only I had, and reframe to next time I will, or focus on the positive lesson learned. Step 3, genuinely move into a world where you have no regrets. I've talked about this a little bit before, but every single one of us has had an experience that we wish we hadn't had. Heartbreaks, true tragedy, perceived failures. There may be some truly horrific experiences in your life. I don't want to belittle those, but I do want you to recognize that the person that you are today, that person you want to start loving and trusting, because no one is going to trust you and follow you as a leader if you loathe yourself. You can't love and trust yourself if you are full of regrets, my love. You are a wonderful human being, I am sure of that. The very fact you are doing this course tells me something about you that I know is good. Whatever brought you here, it was fueled with purpose, and that makes you wonderful. So I want you to let go of those regrets. Instead, focus on the fact that who you are today is made up of every single one of those good, bad, painful, and happy past experiences. There can't be any regrets, only lessons learned along the way. Step 4 is to focus on finding a sense of inner calm. Start by practicing this one when you are calm, then bring it into the situations where you aren't calm. This tactic is brilliant for building your resilience, but also is an essential leadership trait where difficult situations will test you, but are also the situations where you need to remain calm to make informed decisions in a crisis and potentially see a clear path to resolution when everyone else is focused on the unfolding disaster. Start by reminding yourself that everything is fine. Say it out loud if you can. Speaking to ourselves, though laughed at when we are children, is a powerful tool to undo conditioning that our experiences up until now have given us. So allow the negatives to come up and then strategically reframe them. Check in on the negative loop. Are you approaching one, or are you in one? How can you exit that negative loop? Then I want you to work on cultivating daily calm. Spend 2 minutes daily building a daily calm habit, even on stressful days. Go for a walk, meditate, yoga. Focus on your thoughts and get out of a loop. The key here is to make this a habit that you can tap into when you need it. Create a routine that you associate with inner calm so you can use that on demand. One technique I used early on in my career was to go to the bathroom and touch a particular place on the doorframe as I walked in. My brain was trained to associate that action with my daily calm. Then when I needed it on demand, I could excuse myself, repeat the routine, and it would come as required. I maintained calm when everybody else was stressed. You might struggle initially to connect and focus on this, but try focusing on your thoughts, building that routine, and it will come, I promise. Practice really does work here. Doing this internal work on your own is hard, and it's hard to have perspectives when we're doing it for ourselves. It's why I've worked with a coach for much of my professional development. But to start, find a trusted friend that can reflect back to you your thoughts. Challenge your interpretations in a loving way and help you see when you're telling yourself a story that simply doesn't add up. You can do this on your own, but ultimately you will find you'll go further and quicker if you find you've got someone else who holds a space for you. My final ask of you is this. start being your own best friend. When you start beating yourself up about what might go wrong or what has gone wrong, ask yourself, what would you tell your best friend if they were in this situation? Would you be taking her apart, telling her she's a terrible human who has ruined everything for everybody? Almost certainly not. So start being your own best friend and be your own best friend to yourself every single day. So there you have it. You've now completed the 5 stages to ditch self-doubt, from diagnosis to your colleagues and yourself, through specific fixes, leveling with your inner critic, and now finally, ongoing self-care and compassion. This last bit does take practice, but stick with it. I want you to develop resilience. I want you to be a great self-aware leader. I want you to reach down and pick people up that are struggling behind you. If you want to be in a community of like-minded women, then make sure you join the Leading Women in Tech Facebook and LinkedIn communities. Just search for Leading Women in Tech group on those platforms. And don't forget to tune into the Leading Women in Tech podcast each and every week for more of this. Great insights on how to improve our emotional resilience, self-awareness, and become better leaders. Check it out in your favorite podcast player, or go to tonycollis.com. Now, I want you to go and celebrate completing this course. Remember, it's all about those wins. I will look forward to seeing you in the Leading Women in Tech groups.